This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. But it is time for the sunrise safari. And you can see that the sun has already risen and it's nice and toasty warm for today. Believe it or not, there's an elephant there, but he's rather shy, he's hiding, but we are going to try and find him for you. And that's just one of the many things that I want to see today. But we are going to be coming to you from different locations, and I'm sure they're all going to show you wonderful and exciting things. So everyone, I'm glad you're here, because it's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome aboard. I hope you're ready, everyone, for a bumble. My safari vehicle is just one of many, and we are here in Duma Private Game Reserve. And who is we? My name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera. We do have an elephant. We're going to try and see if we can show this elephant to you. And if not, I'm already at Philemon's Dip racing to the hyena den. The elephant was actually a roadblock, but I haven't seen an elephant. Oh, I can see his grey bottom moving through the thicket there. He's rather shy, but it's another glorious morning here in the Lowveld. The temperatures, I think, are going to soar very, very quickly. The summer is still very much here. Hold on, Davy, let's see this. But of course, this is your live safari, hence why the elephant is not playing ball. Do you know what? I'm going to abort. He's going into the drainage. We're going to the hyena den. So please do talk to us. There's many ways that you can do that. You can use the hashtag Wild Earth on Twitter, at FC on the YouTube chat, or you can go over to the website, register, and submit your questions on the live safari page. Or if you're under 18, please do email us. We will be alerted to your emails. The address is kidquestions@wildearth.tv. There are all your options. Many to choose from. So I myself am going after spots today, as well as all the other little things in between. Hyena will be my first protocol. We're actually almost there. Den number 1, to which they have moved to, is much closer to Philemon's cut line than den number 3. And I'm really, really hoping they're there. It's still not too hot. It's very pleasant. But it's really tricky to catch the hyena den active. I do check multiple times per day. Fresh leopard tracks. Okay, we have a female leopard who appears to have walked this way. That's something I'm going to follow up on, but the hyena den is just right here. I think the hyenas are active all night. It's summer, it's hot. During the day, they just sleep in the nice, cool, termite mound. That's exactly what I would do if I was a hyena. And it must be cool then. Termite mounds have aeration. They're porous. They have a ventilation system designed by the termite mounds themselves, not the hyenas. So it really is a perfect place to be during the really hot part of the day. Okay, we're almost here. But I'm still checking den number 3. I don't think they're solely just using this one. I don't see any spotted bodies. Hyenas, where are you? There's a very empty den hole. I don't see anything inside. Shall we bumble on to the other den? Clearly moved this way, and I actually say this regularly, this sort of game path, that the hyena dens are positioned on is used by a lot of our characters out here, especially the leopards. Female-wise is definitely Tswalu and Kalamba. LP, I don't know. The last time I saw Braveheart was when we all saw her together at den number 3. So I'm assuming yes, she has moved, or that's what I want to assume. She'll be able to hear them, they'll contact call for one another, she'll be able to smell them. I mean, the distance is really not that far, especially for the hearing of a hyena. However, I can't give you a confirmed answer, I'm afraid. It was rather sad just to see her sitting there. But, you know, before, we had a vehicle up at front.
Welcome to and Beyond Punda this morning, everyone. We have left the lodge. It's a beautiful, calm, sunny morning, and we have found a herd of buffalo. So the buffalo herd split up. We've got the 4 that we're looking at on our right-hand side, and then the rest of the herd is across the road on our left, and they're slowly grazing and feeding upwards. Now, if you have a look at this female on the left here, you can see her belly is really round. I'm pretty convinced she's pregnant, and quite heavily pregnant as well. I think in the next couple, maybe weeks or months, she'll have a calf, which is exciting news. My name's Devon. I'm going to be guiding you here at Punda this morning. Behind the camera, we've got Craig. He's going to be operating all the video, and it's been beautiful just to spend a little bit of time with these buffalo this morning. There are a few zebra in the mix as well, keeping things interesting, and there was 2 or 3 wildebeest mingling around the back end of the herd of the buffalo. Now, what these buffalo might be doing is moving up the side of this hill here, and they're grazing slowly as they're going, but they are moving towards or in the direction of a little watering hole. So these might be some of the older animals that are kind of trailing at the back that we're looking at now. And then on the left-hand side, you can see 80% of the herd has already crossed over the road and is making their way up towards that it's a small little pan system. There's not too much water there, but there's enough water for the buffalo to have a drink, for a few of the older ones probably to wallow, and from there I'm sure they'll probably actually come back in this direction again. If you keep heading in that direction, it gets quite mountainous and rocky, and on this side where we are now is where all the really nice grazing is at the moment. If you look quite carefully at each of the individuals, you can see quite a lot of remnants of mud, maybe from yesterday, from their wallow later yesterday. Buffalo sometimes will wallow twice a day, and in between feeding, obviously if you're eating grass. Oh, look at all those oxpeckers, all the red-billed oxpeckers taking off. Now, I'm not sure if you can hear their call. It's like a little, it's quite insect-like. She's just flying right over us now. But now that call, when walking in the bush, can be a very useful call to listen out for. And the reason for that is because, like now, we're sitting here looking at this herd of buffalo. We've just seen those oxpeckers take off from the herd. If you're walking and you haven't seen any animals, but you can hear oxpeckers, or you see them taking off or going down, they might be going down onto something like buffalo, rhino, which are all kind of, I suppose, considered dangerous animals if you're walking in the bush, and something that it's may be better to avoid, or at least be extra cautious of. Now, it's not a hard and fast rule, because these oxpeckers will also land on things like giraffe and impala and a whole number of other animals. But just a little cheeky bush hack when you're walking through the bush. Yes, Hazel, this is a lovely morning here in Africa. Very typical. We've got these beautiful zebra and buffalo and a nice open grass plain. And I really enjoy seeing these grazing animals in quite like large numbers like this. And it's quite exciting and, like you said, very, very African, which is just great. These buffalo they're actually moving relatively quickly. You can see they've got their heads down, and they do stop and grab a few mouthfuls every now and again. But for the most part, they're actually on the move. The few that we're trailing behind them have now also crossed the road in front of us and are heading up towards that group. And from what we can see now, I think most of the group has actually crossed over. There's a small little bump in the ground here and gone around behind the thicket. We are going to move out from this area now. I think these buffalo, we're not going to get a very good view for much longer. But for now, we're going to send you across to Taylor, and we will see you a little bit later.
Well, it's a beautiful start to the morning here at Pridelands. The birds are all chirping. We even heard a jackal whining just a few minutes ago. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert. And like I said, we're here at Pridelands Conservancy, which is part of Baluli Game Reserve and the Great Kruger National Park. And of course, the man leading the walk this morning is Willem. He's just behind us over there. Now, I can't believe what we found so early in the morning. Literally, this insect caught my eye as I hopped out of the vehicle. So we drove out of camp this morning. We parked, the car is just behind us, and I saw this shimmering coloration, and just on the underside of this leaf you'll see a tiny little beetle. Now, I know it doesn't look like very much right now, but this is in fact a type of tortoise beetle. And again, there's plenty of tortoise beetles in the world. I'm going to try to get you a better view because it's really, really pretty. And there's something that I want to point out to you is hopefully the light is catching it in just the perfect spot, because this is what I saw. This is a fool's gold beetle, which is just a species of tortoise beetle, which is really, really awesome. Now, there are characteristics sort of round in shape, but quite sort of flat and almost translucent in color, but you can see the little flecks of gold just on the outside, and then of course that brown bit there too. And this one's unfortunately missing one antenna. It's only got one. I don't think you can maybe see that, but then characteristic have got the black tip for the fool's gold beetle. Now, this is not something that we come across all the time. In fact, this is the first one I've seen this year. I don't think I saw a tortoise beetle last year. So very, very special to see them. And I think with all the rain that we've had at the moment, there are so many creatures that have come back to life again. Now, they of course eat lots of leaves. They're part of the leaf beetle family, and they can do a bit of damage, but we don't see lots and lots of them. So out here, I don't think they're affecting too much, but perhaps on crops again, it might cause a bit of trouble. Isn't that awesome though? What a lovely little beetle. I hope you managed to get some screenshots there. Like I said, it's not one that we come across all the time, but there are a number of different types of tortoise beetles, but I think that this one is, I know that this one is by far the most beautiful. So I've got a couple of other creatures that I'd like to try and find throughout the morning. Sort of put that gently so I don't drop it. It's a little bit cool. So maybe not super active just yet, is I'm going to be checking the ruby gonadias for rainbow shield bugs. It's also one of my favorite insects. And what else? Spiders. And then we did hear some branches breaking just on the ridge above us, or just to the east of us. So I suspect that there's some elephants nearby. And we heard the jackal alarming. Now, with jackals, of course, alarming, that typically indicates that there might be a predator around. And it sounded like it was between the road that I'm standing on and the road just sort of south to us. It's quite a dense block, but there's a nice ridge that runs through it. So there's two potential animals that it could be. Maybe Lagatha, the lioness. She likes this area quite a bit. Or perhaps even a leopard. Maybe Pixie Pan is about.
It's the month of March and Wild Earth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the Wild Earth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that is truly, truly magical.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. This early of the morning, sitting with crested barbet, feeding on the road. Looks like 2 of them there. Was also starling that we had a grasshopper, so it was a lot of going of each other, one to steal food from one another. My name's Andrew. On camera, I have Mpo this morning. So this is an area where we're gonna search around for what we're gonna find, animal. And then I want to know how far the bride have moved or whether they crossed to the west, so we know. And then from there we can take it or leave it. If they cross to places where we cannot go, then we're gonna leave it. If they cross places where we can follow, then we're gonna follow them. I'm sure wherever they are, they must be resting by now. And then I'm sure they have a long walk of all last night. It's bright and early, beautiful, warm. It's gonna be warm, looks like it. Interesting day though. Elephants love to be come out, about, feed. play in a pool. So I'm gonna carry on here, take a drive around, and then I'm gonna be sending you across to Pinda.
Welcome back to Pinda. We are really close to some zebra. We carried on moving from that herd of buffalo, and these zebra were just a little bit further along. You can see there's lots of tail swishing and kicking and ear flicking that's happening. I think the flies are bugging them. And even if I didn't know that the flies were bugging them because their tails were swishing and they were shaking their heads, I could tell you that the flies were bothering them because they're bothering me as well. You can see the zebra really getting stuck into this grass as well. They're feeding quite constantly. There are 2 females and a male here. Males on the left, and the 2 females have got little calves with them, which are very sweet. These calves were most likely born around November, December time, maybe late December into January even. But beautiful in this early morning light in this quite long grass. It'll be interesting to watch where they're feeding from in this grass. So the grass is obviously quite tall. It comes up to tickling the adults on their belly. But that's not where they're feeding from. They're grabbing the little tufts of grass right at the root. And the reason they're doing that is because there's a lot more lush green shoots that are coming from the bottom. And that's exactly what they're after, is the juicy bits at the bottom. Yeah, safari detective, they are a beautiful animal to see, very characteristic of the bush in this area, and very magnificent. I think their coloration as well and patterns is just spectacular, actually, to be honest with you. This little calf or foal in front of us has got such a nice coat, and it really is lovely to see them grazing, doing what they normally. Zebras have got a very characteristic call as well, which is another, for me, another very beautiful sign that you're in the bush, is when you hear zebras calling. They really beautiful patterns, and for photographs as well, really stunning animals to photograph. I was just taking a few pictures now when we got here, and the contrast and this kind of light coming through here is spectacular. You can see they really are being pestered by these flies though. The tails are going in overdrive and the heads shaking around quite a lot as well. Unfortunately, with the rains and this abundance of water and food now, the insects and flies especially are also working in overdrive. Nathan, to tell the difference between male and female zebra can be quite tricky. So if you look, these 3 have actually positioned themselves really nicely for this now. If you look underneath their tails, so between their back legs, you can see there's a very distinct black stripe. Now, the females, which are the 2 on the right, have got a significantly thicker black stripe than the male who's on the left. His black stripe is very thin, and for zebra, that's actually the easiest way to tell the difference between the males and the females, is by looking at that black stripe. For the rest of it, they actually look pretty similar. In terms of size and shape, unless the females are pregnant, in which case their bellies hang quite a bit lower, but they also have really quite large bellies, and which are quite full of gas most of the time. So even for males, it does often get asked if, is that zebra pregnant? And I laugh because it's a male. But they do give off that impression. The foal on the right-hand side looks like it might want to suckle in a little bit. I'm not sure. It's kind of rubbing itself up against mom. Either that, or it's just using her tail, which is swishing vigorously to try to keep the flies away from its head. Which might be the case, actually. You'll every now and again see a pair of zebras standing head to tail with one another, tails swishing quite vigorously, and they do that so that the other zebra's tail swats and chases the flies away from their face. I think this calf is now, foal's learned that if it forages right behind mom, her tail might work as a very effective little fly swatter to keep the flies away from its head. That's very, very sweet. So, Yolissa, that's an interesting question. So, I just mentioned a little bit earlier that they have a kind of contact call that they have, which is very distinctive for zebra, and for me, something that symbolizes the bush. And they will communicate with one another like that. It's kind of like a contact call. You'll hear zebra sometimes calling from quite far away, maybe across a valley or around a mountain. And that's a communication to kind of let one another know that we are here, and they can kind of locate each other like that. But otherwise, you'll see they kind of also grunt and snort a little bit, and there'll, I'm sure, be some sort of non-audio communication that they have and use with each other as well. So there, that calf now, or foal, is looking, it's kind of half trying to stick its head between mom's legs. Maybe get to one of her udders. But this light that's coming through here now really is stunning. And if you look quite closely at the little one as well, you can see that it's quite fluffy. So they are quite a lot fluffier. I'm just going to roll a little bit forward here. Just don't leave it there. Can really see how that little one's using mom's tail now. Quite a clever little life hack there. can be really nice in the mornings and afternoons to spend a little bit more time with these animals and just sit with your vehicle off. And the sounds that come to you can be very telling of what's happening around you in the bush. So if there are any predators in an area like this and they get seen by either zebra or wildebeest or perhaps impala or nyala or kudu, all of those animals will alarm call at the predator. And the alarm calls are very distinctive. You can't mistake them for anything else. They, for the most part, sound like barks. And when you sit with your vehicle off, and if you sit for long enough, you'll often hear barks off in the distance. But if it does come a little bit closer, it can give you a very good indication of whereabouts you should go looking for predators if you're looking for them. We are in the area of a female leopard at the moment. She was seen here yesterday evening, and it would be lovely to go be able to find her again. She's not where she was left yesterday, so we couldn't find any tracks, but that doesn't mean she's not here. There are quite a few thickets in this area, so I mean, possible she could be anywhere. And if one of these zebra or one of the impala that are just behind us get scent of her or hear her, see her, I'm sure they'll alert us to us immediately. They won't hesitate. Especially for Wild Earth, they know they've got a job to do for us here. We're going to cross over to Juma now. We're going to carry on slowly driving around this area and having a look and see if we can see any signs of this leopard.
They're flying through the air, Davy. They're flying, they're strutting. My goodness, this is the impala. Half are relaxed with not a care in the world, and the other half are kicking their hind legs up like there's no tomorrow. Now, the rutting season will be falling upon us very, very soon. I don't quite know what's going on. But let's go forward. I don't think there's a predator, or this half here would not be as relaxed as they are. But we're on Chitwa, where all the leopards have been hanging out recently. And it's really, really worth paying attention to the impala. But this morning I can't quite understand what the impala are up to. Should we go ahead to this lot, Darby? The ones that are... You'll see impalas do this, especially when they're trying to get rid of a predator, mostly wild dogs. And this is because there's no time for dogs to stand an alarm call. Well, there's maybe time, but you're not going to survive. That's not going to deter the dogs. It's not going to stop their approach. Leopards and lions, yes, especially leopards, but dogs, no. So they run and they kick their back legs up like this to sort of signal, I'm faster than you and I can jump higher than you, and it also makes them look bigger. It's also more difficult to catch them if their hind legs are being kicked up. You don't want to kick in the face. But there's no dogs. What's up, guys? But very soon the males will start changing in their... Look at this. Are you guys just having fun? I think so. A little bit of morning fun. But very soon everything's going to change, and I'm actually really excited for it. I love the rutting season, but it's slightly difficult because you'll hear vocalization from impalas all the time, and you'll get confused. You'll think there's a predator because you can hear the snort, but it's actually definitely not a predator. It's just the impala causing lots of problems. The males will get very aggressive, very possessive over their females, and they will focus all their attention on the ladies, which actually means that they can lose condition. And by losing condition, they're not paying attention to their body or what's going on around them. And they very often get taken by the predators. So I'm going to scratch around here, but for now we're going to send you across to Pinda with some buffalo.
Once again, welcome back to Andrea and Pinda. We've got this herd of buffalo again. It's the same herd that I told you 15 minutes ago looked like they're moving towards this little pan system, and they have arrived. Not the whole herd is in the water though. There's quite a large portion, probably 60% or 70% at least, that buffalo's got weeds, maybe some lily species all wrapped around its head there. That's quite funny. That's a classic picture. Reminds me of the water buffalo which you get in Asia. Not too different looking in this one. These ones now that they're in this water. I mean water buffalo, African buffalo water. But this is an important part of the buffalo's day. You'll find that, well, at least once, maybe twice a day if they can, they'll come down to watering holes like this and wallow and sit in the water for a little while, especially the bigger dugger boys and the older females. They will come and sit in the mud, they'll have a big drink and cool off as well while they coat themselves in mud. And then by coating themselves in mud, it helps them protect their skin from the sun, but it also can be massively helpful with things like ticks and other parasites and flies. It creates a bit of a protective layer. And really nice to see these buffalo. I've just thought we had to stop and have another look at them because I was saying that they would probably come down here and do this, and now they're here. Doing as predicted. I quite enjoy sitting with buffalo. They can give you really beautiful views. And this is we've got this little gap in the thicket here that we're looking through towards these buffalo, and it's really a little insight into their world, which is very, very cool. The buffalo with the lilies wrapped around its head is now drinking. Dalsurf, you'll find that most actually of the larger mammals in Africa, larger herbivores I should say, very rarely have twins. So I think in most cases it's not unheard of, but very rare. So buffalo will most often only have one calf. Buffalo calves aren't small, so to have twins I think would probably have to have two slightly smaller calves, which would then disadvantage the calf quite substantially. You can hear these oxpeckers all coming down around us now again. And there were 2 white-faced whistling ducks that just took off and flew overhead. Maybe they were thinking of coming down to land at this little pan system and then saw that it already had some occupants. So if we look at the kind of cluster of animals on the far side, and you look at the size of their horns, you'll see that all very, very big horns. So that's a group of big males that is there now. But buffaloes, can they swim? I haven't seen buffalo moving into water that they can't stand in before. And so I can't really answer that question. But I'm sure, so most animals to a degree can swim. Buffalo tend to not go into deeper water though. They prefer these smaller little pans, obviously less likely to be hippo and crocodile in these watering holes like this. And they like the small little kind of secluded ones where it's not too deep. The mud aspect of the water is quite important, so they really want to coat and cake themselves in mud. So it's kind of less about swimming and more about getting stuck into the mud. That group of bulls on the far side, there's some really large horns among them. I'm glad you asked that question, Judy. A lot of people think of oxpeckers as purely a symbiotic relationship with animals and don't know about any downsides that oxpeckers might have. And we see it quite commonly with giraffe here on Punda. They do carry diseases. So there's a papillomavirus that affects our giraffe quite, well, I mean, it's not going to say badly because it doesn't really have too much of a negative impact as such, but it is quite widespread. So we'll see lots and lots of giraffe on Punda that have got these little like rectangular patches on their coats, especially up on their necks, of quite raw, scarred skin. And that is, in fact, kind of a virus, and it's been transported between them by oxpeckers. So oxpeckers can take disease from one animal to another animal. Now, the other thing people don't know about oxpeckers is what they're actually after is when they eat ticks, they're not after the actual tick. They are after the blood, which is inside the tick. So they are blood drinkers, I suppose almost like a tick themselves. And what they will also sometimes do is if an animal has an open wound that is weeping or bleeding, they'll often pick at that wound and drink the blood that comes out. Now, what that does is it stops wounds from healing as quickly and as effectively and efficiently as they could be without the oxpecker. But it's a bit of a catch-22 because they do play a massively important role in controlling the tick load on these animals. I think without oxpeckers, the ticks would be completely unbearable. You'll see in a lot of these buffaloes' ears, actually, the ticks are quite bad. And it's those type of areas where animals struggle to get scratching posts and sticks and things to scrape the ticks off. On the sides of the bellies, under the legs and things like that, they find it a little bit easier. But all animals have got little nooks and crannies where ticks hide away, that you really need something more small and specific to get rid of the ticks. I'm going to stop talking for the next little while, and I think it'll be nice just to spend a quiet moment or two listening to all the birds that are around us here, all the insects and the sounds that the buffalo are making as they wallow. Yeah, Beverly, they are having a bit of a spa day. For buffaloes, every day is spa day. Every day when there's water around. So we've had a lot of rain in the last little while. And that's why all these smaller pan systems are so full at the moment. This one seems to be getting more and more full the longer we sit here, though. It's been really magical spending the last 10 minutes or so here, though, with these buffalo, watching them all come down like this. They're slowly filling up here. But for now, we're going to, I think, leave them to carry on with their morning, and we will carry on looking for this leopard.
Wild Earth is launching a brand new bushwalk from Pridelands. With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an Ellie bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that? Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I'll tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
What are you looking at, man? That's its gangster face. It has the manners of a common variety vagabond. Look at it, chewing with its mouth open like that.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene, rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
So we got a male hippo. Looks like a single male hippo in this waterhole, where I believe he just returned from grazing early this morning. So we're sitting here at Gari Dam this morning. And then he was around here yesterday as well, so sometimes he's not around. He's stuck somewhere else. So many water holes here. And that quick update about the Pride of Lion that Ngoma had crossed into Arachusa area, where we cannot follow them there, so we're not sure what's going on there. They crossed by last night. So we're going to have to find out about the bride, the Talamati bride, where they are, because the buffalo was in Bevelshoek yesterday, I think I heard. Mike, you're asking how do I tell if this hippo is a male by looking at him or her? Well, hippo males tend to be very much solitary. Typically males. Females in group always. And then if the female alone with a baby, then otherwise a single one like that, it's a male. But also the head, it's bigger for male as well. So you tell by that. Female, she wouldn't spend a lot of hours alone, a lot of nights. And they're not territorial, the female, so possible that she will join the other watering hole where there's more of a cows around. Only males that are highly territorial. So everyone, I agree that you love his pink ears. I agree with this very... Compared to, I would say, rhino, typically, rhino ears much bigger. And then for the hippo, small. So it's not that the hippo, they have a poor hearing, no, they can hear better, as well as a rhino can hear better. But with the hippo been having so much small ears like these, so because they were able to control them when they submerged down underneath, they folded them against their neck where they backwards. But in the meantime, there's a special muscle that would able to control the valve, close the airway or eardrum. So the water mustn't flow into the eardrum. So when they do that, and he's just so quiet because he's not much of a company. if it was the other male that comes into the area or in this watering hole here, you would hear or you would see him. He would be very much active by grunting noises, yawning, and of course would be a fight. Ton, you're asking what do hippo eat? So they're vegetarian, they eat grasses. And then for that, they don't actually have to feed when they're in the water. They get out at night, out far in the land, and they always have made their special pathway. When they get out, they use it specifically because they have very short legs. And where there's a lot of big rivers, they also have those kind of little pathway they have made naturally, where they get out in and out of that river. They use it, and that's why they become very much deadly animals if you ever in that pathway when they have to use it at the same times, and you got a problem a little bit. So they use this path to gain access out of the water. They go feed it all night. They would prefer very short grasses. And for that, there is a lot of a termite mound around here, where it's grasses that grow around these termite mounds tend to be very sweet for such animals as a rhino, even a buffalo and elephants, as well as hippos. And the hippo will specialize in it around the mound, graze around. And they can sometimes switch directions of where they're going that night. So places where they haven't been for probably 3-4 days, there the growth is already up, the grasses, and they will visit maybe the 5th night. They go feed. Giraffes are asking if they can see underwater. I don't think they can see underwater. They gotta close their eyes. That I'm not 100% sure if they can see completely, though. But they has to close their eyes when they go down. But if they don't see completely, it means they have to measure the distance, because they submit down in a pier on the other side where they move from there. Alright, so I'm going to carry on, do a little bit of a search around here. Hopefully I get something else for everybody. In the meantime, I'll be sending you across to Dedri and Tswalu.
Good morning from, oopsie, hold on BK, we hit the bump at the wrong time. Morning, I'm Deirdre from Tolu and BK on camera with me this morning. Yes, I do have my gloves on. It is about 14 degrees, about 54 degrees Fahrenheit, but an hour ago when we started, it was a lot colder. Even BK for the first time said to me, I think I'm going to wear pants tomorrow. So it is definitely starting to get colder, and we haven't seen an animal move yet this morning. We've been driving around and around. Not even the armoured ground crickets are out yet, so it is pretty chilly. We are waiting for it to warm up a little bit more to see what we can find. We're going to head into the dunes with the shorter grass to see if we can find some general plains game. But I'm just, at this moment, we're just hoping to find anything. Even the birds have been slow movers this morning. So, and this isn't even the start of winter. So, looks like we're going to be in for a chilly one this season. So, we're going to carry on, show you some of our scenery, but this very tall sour grass is proving quite challenging at this point because it hides lots of mammals. There's two birds, BK. Maybe we can, the two little Namako doves. Not even they moving. Yes, okay, they moved. So they were sunning themselves nicely there in the sun. So BK and I attempted to find a hyena den, and we drove around the block, lots and lots and lots of tracks, but unfortunately no sign. Grass is too thick. So while we just carry on bumbling towards the dune areas, we're going to send you across to Pinda.
Welcome back to and beyond Pinda, guys. We've gotten very lucky here and managed to find this leopard I was talking about a little bit earlier. She is right in the top of this tree, perched very precariously on a branch that's kind of overhanging the edge of the tree. And if you look quite carefully, that branch is shaking with her as she's breathing. What a magical sight to see. We were just driving along here, and one of the other rangers let us know that he had found it. Absolute treat. So she's actually really high up in this tree, and I'm not quite sure why, but she's literally perched on the edge. The branch is bending with her weight that she's where she is now. And she's still shifting more and more forward. I wonder what's going through her mind at the moment. It does look like she's looking off into the distance. I'm not 100% sure what she's looking at. Maybe she's seen a impala or a kudu, something off down there. You can imagine the viewpoint she's got from where she is now is really, really magnificent. She'll be able to see really far compared to being low down on the ground, and she'll be looking over a lot of this long grass and slightly taller trees and small shrubs that are around in this area. So really, really good vantage point. And maybe that's why she's kind of looking around the way she is. But a beautiful, beautiful leopard. Crazed clown? Yeah, we can only hope she doesn't fall. Hey, leopards are excellent climbers. She's looking around towards our side now. They really are excellent climbers though, so I kind of assume she's got this. I don't want to speak too soon because when I say the branch is bending with her weight, it's moving. So there you can see it wobbling. I don't know if she's still trying to shift forward. Maybe she's seen something in the distance and she's just trying to get a bit of a better look towards it. Couldn't really be sure. Pause. She keeps pulling herself more and more forward. Well, oh, I heard a crack there. She's probably about, I would say, I'm not the greatest judge of height, but I would say probably about 3.5, 4 meters up in the air where she is now, off the ground. What I'm thinking of doing is moving just a little bit forward so that we can get a bit of a kind of perspective back onto the tree of exactly where it is she's sitting. I think I'm slowly going to move forward here. What a treat to find at this time of the morning. It's going to 4x4. Oh. It's quite rocky over here. So we're just going to go slowly. Craig says we just need to be a little bit further back. We just need to be a little bit further back. We started on the side of her, which is really breathing. I've been trying to look and see with my binoculars to see if I can see the branch.
Switch around. Around here, hoping to find any cats as well this morning, and then that would be the leopard. I haven't actually seen Kalamba or heard of her in a while. Where I'm hoping to bump on her and one of these drive will take him. So leopards prefer thicket, which is low-filled, thick grasses, thick bushes, and they're happy about that because that's what they want. And that's why maybe we don't spot them or we don't see them that often, because when they're not in the open or in one of the roads, then you don't have a visual of them. That's why we search around roads to see if there's a tracks. Because the minute you find a tracks, then you know animal was there. Then for you to judge, or also when the older of a tracks, whether it's fresh or old, and then for that, it's easy to tell because all these roads have been driven quite often during the day, also every day. So if the tracks on top of car tracks, then you know maybe last night. And this area, everywhere it's wet, very wet. Sometimes even the roads we drive still had waters in it, so it means off-roading is not possible still. Because the ground comes very soft. Chance of a stuck if you ever off-road in this area. I'm so happy to hear that, everyone, and it's so cool to hear that. I'm so also happy to have you help me out, look around wherever. Now it's so good that, you know, I look, you also look, you see where we're going. And as you can see, the bush is actually still, and it's still beautiful. But the winter, you know, it's coming, where everything's going to change brownie, but it's still going to be the best. So that the change of a season, it's always, it has to happen. Some other country, then have to gain or have a heat where now they're in colder. And they can't be staying in the cold the whole years, you know, like a whole month, I mean, a couple of months. So it's cool that, you know, we switch. We would have a winter where somebody would have the summer out there. So early morning like this, I know it's getting warmer, but still chance if there is a leopard around here, either seeing it on top or finding it on top of the mound or on the road still moving or on top of the tree. Or maybe you spot a keel if there is a keel that has been hosted up in trees before you can spot the leopard itself, because they mainly host their prey up in trees. So I'm gonna check Treehouse Dam, see what is there for us.
When on safari, there is nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
We get asked quite regularly what are the differences between African and Asian elephants. We caught up with Haresh, who's from Leopard Trails, which is based in Sri Lanka.
Of course, size and weight is the first thing you notice. The African elephant is much bigger than the Asian elephant. Tusks in the Asian elephant, it's a very small percentage of male elephants only who have tusks. I was told that there's a theory that the African elephant's ear is in the shape of Africa. The Asian elephant has a much smaller ear. The elephant represents the bush and the jungle in Sri Lanka in a quintessential manner, and I think it's very important that we do whatever we can to protect them.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We have found our first animal of the morning. We are so excited, even though it's a wildebeest. But we won't complain. He's just moseying on, doing his own thing. He's the only one that we've seen so far in this June street. And we're probably the first thing he's seen for a long time too, because he keeps looking at us like we've done something wrong. But a nice big blue wildebeest bull. Oh no, don't do that. Oh, he's coming. There we go. He seems to be a bit on a mission. He's heading up towards the dune slope. There's probably a waterhole there is a waterhole not too far from here. So he's possibly heading in that general direction. But it's so nice to see. You can see there's sort of the brindled pattern and stripes and the shape on the side of the body there. Okay, BK, I think that let me go forward for you. I think he's gonna come out on the other side of that bosque here. Nice white tree. Oh, he's coming eventually. There he is, yeah. A bit of a through the bushes shot. Definitely a man on a mission, that's for sure. Still not 100% sure about us. You see, just walk, stop, walk, stop. Jerome is asking the question, doesn't our vehicle scare the animals away? Sometimes you can, because you catch them by surprise and they didn't hear you coming, depending on the wind direction. But sometimes also they're so used to the sound of the vehicles that they don't bother, especially the wildebeest and animals near lodges or areas where there's high vehicle activity. Then they don't tend to bother at all. But we have certainly noticed that BK's asking me to go forward a bit so you can see the wildebeest. He's heading up the dune. Let me do a bit more than just one. We'll do the whole bush. There we go, BK. We should have him from there. So, there he goes, up and over. So there we go, there's your answer. Does the vehicle spook them? We came in slowly and he's decided now he's running off. So while he goes up and over the dune, we're going to send you across to Andrew Ajuma.
Thanks, Didere. So we got a Now, smallest carnivores is a dwarf mongoose. And one of the smallest. And when we stopped here, they were just busy getting out of that little mound. And this is probably how they're going to start to forage around and move about. Hunt for their own food, which is insect mainly. Those are grasshoppers, beetles. They are one of the coolest animals to watch, the dwarf mongoose. They playful and they move quite a lot around, run around. But they're so small, so it's got to be very open whenever you see them. They, as we speak, they started to vanish into the bush. So let me move on, carry on, search about. I'm going to be sending you across to Pinda with a leopard.
All right, welcome back. We have moved underneath the tree here and got this beautiful view. She's moved away from that little precarious branch that she was perched up on and is now lying in a much more stable looking section of the tree. We did have to loop around and it was quite bumpy to get here, but we've got a really nice view up into the bottom side of this tree now, and she's gotten comfortable and looks like is going to sleep. So every couple of minutes you'll see she opens her eyes, has a bit of a look around, has a bit of a stretch. Her legs are, I suppose, straddling that branch that she's lying on and just dangling at the back with her tail. And every now and again the little beams of sunshine make it through the canopy of the tree and kind of dance around in her face, which is very, very pretty to sit and watch. But this really does just go to show how comfortable leopards are climbing trees and being up in the high parts of trees where she is now. They've got no issues climbing up and down. It must have been quite a sight watching her climb up into this tree here. And when and if she does decide to come down, I think it'll be very spectacular to watch her climbing out of the tree. We're looking into the V of it, so I'm sure if she does decide to come down, while we're here still, we are in the perfect position to get the best view of that. One of the reasons she might have climbed up into the tree like she has now is to get away from all those flies. So we spent quite a bit of time talking about flies and them pestering animals this morning. Saw all those wildebeest just resting her head on top of a little branch there, and how they've been pestering all the animals. And by climbing up a tree like this, she's actually probably able to get away from a lot of those flies, which is something that I'm sure a lot more animals would do if they could. Charles, leopards hoisting prey. On Phinda, funnily enough, our leopards here don't tend to hoist their prey up into trees too often. And our theory for that is because we've got quite a small hyena population here, and the leopards don't have their kills stolen that regularly. So it's almost unnecessary for them to hoist their kills up into trees. They don't need to do it because their kills don't get stolen on the ground. And as a result, I haven't really seen any leopards hoisting anything substantial up into trees on Phinda. I think in other parts of South Africa and Southern Africa, they've hoisted massive animals, especially considering the size of a leopard, into trees. But on Phinda, the largest animal I've seen is an impala. And it wasn't a big impala at that. I think the leopard that had caught that impala might have just climbed into the tree and taken the impala with her, maybe also just to get away from the flies. This is one of the more prominent trees along a relatively busy road in Phinda, and driving past it quite regularly, it's one of the trees that I always kind of cast a glance towards to see if I can see anything perched up in the branches. But from where she's sitting now, from the road, I don't think you'll really be able to see anything. I have seen a leopard in this tree before, about a year ago, and I'm sure there have been leopards in this tree since then. I just haven't been yet to lay eyes upon them. For now, this leopard doesn't look like she's doing too much. We are going to probably spend a little bit more time with her and see if she does get active. But for now, we're going to send you across to Tswalu.
So we've come across the next June street over after having left our wildebeest, and we've found 3 ostriches. 2 males, and then the one in the back is a female. And they were walking away from us, and then as soon as they saw us, they've just stopped dead still and they're staring at us. So the feathers being the biggest indicator of which one's male versus female, the black feathers being the male, and the sort of dusty brown feathers the female. It's not uncommon to have 2 males, 1 female. They sort of mix and match. Sometimes you have a pair, sometimes you have males, sometimes you have females. So it just depends on how they associate with each other. But amongst those 2 males, one of them will be more dominant than the other. And sometimes they display their dominance by their tail. So the more dominant one will have his tail upright, and the least dominant down. But I was commenting on the fact that one on the left-hand side, the closest one to us, has the reddest tail feathers I've ever seen. I don't know if it's the Kalahari sand that's making them that rufous red, but quite nice to see. Everyone's saying they seem so relaxed, so we might get some interesting behavior here, because as soon as that one male approached the other one, you saw the sort of the waving of the feathers. So it's not quite breeding season yet, and the indicator is generally the males, their beak goes bright orange, as well as the shins on their legs. That shin area goes to a bright red, and you know that that's then a breeding male. But sometimes they'll they've got a very, very elaborate courtship dance where they wave their feathers around and their neck. They are actually very relaxed. BK and I are used to them just running up and over the dunes before you can even put them on live. Jackson's asking the question, do ostriches mate for life? And that's actually quite a good question. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. But I do have a bird app. And I don't want to be wrong in answering that. Oh, this is the funny one. This they're stored under common ostrich. I'd probably be faster in my bird book. Give me a second, but I suppose most of you will be faster on your fingers on Google. I do know that they can be they are quite aggressive in their pairs when they are together. But let's have a look at what it says in the book. So it is literally bird number 1 in Southern Africa. Why is it not there? I can't even find it in the bird book. The bird book page number is incorrect, believe it or not. Oh no, there. The Kruger Park website apparently says they normally mate for life, but breeding in the bird book says they are actually polygamous, which means one male, many females. So there we go. We have something quite interesting. It's the most bizarre thing. In my bird book, there's only commentary, but no physical picture. I've never seen that. there's a misprint in my book. There's no picture of an ostrich. Would you believe it? So there you can see the tail up for the dominance. He just did it very briefly. And both in pursuit of the female. Let's go forward. We did see a... So they seem to have disappeared out of shot. We're going to send you across to Andrew, who has another bird, and I'm going to carry on Googling this ostrich polygamy versus mate for life.
Good luck, Deirdre. So we stop here looking at one of the most beautiful bird out here as a lilac-breasted roller. Beautiful light. You can see its true color, lilac breast, and all it's got about 7 different colors in there. Bird. But it's still a younger bird. And the tail is still properly square. So it's not fully growing. So it's perched in there, watching the ground. Some prey it's been catch from the air or it will land on the ground, catches it. Incredible sound, beautiful sound they make when they communicate. Oh, beautiful wings. Megan, so you're saying what a stunning bird. Indeed it is. It's actually beautiful, stunning bird. The coloration, it's just stunning. So you're very right. We just saw the wings stretch a little bit. All you see, all the beauty underneath of it. Work harder bird right in the background. So if you're asking how big is this bird, they're only 36 centimeter long, so that's pretty much small, or not small, but typically size. So in all rollers, where here we don't actually have a racket roller, would be a similar measure as this one, but we don't have it here. I haven't seen one. And the slightly bigger one, that's a purple roller. The second one is European roller, which European roller we also still see them around here this time of year. And this is the third one of all the small. So Jonathan, you're asking why do they call them rollers? So all the rollers' names come from the way they fly and do displayed. So they fly up. That's what they do. They fly up to the air far enough. When they do end of a call, this one will do a call as well. And then in that, when they come down to the ground or before they land in one of the trees, they come with such a very display, it's just like an airplane in a wall, but it's very stunning, beautiful, and they do that roll into trees and a land. So that's why they call it a roller. Just went down somehow, probably something, and it's gone. So I'm gonna keep checking in this area, hope we find something, and then I'm gonna be sending it across to Pinda.
Welcome back to this leopard who is now grooming herself in the tree. which could potentially be a good sign. Now, she just had a little yawn about a minute ago. She's giving us the eyes now. But you can see her grooming herself there. Now, yawning and grooming can be, I should say rather, all signs that an animal might get moving in the next little while. Me and Craig were discussing the best place for us to be parked if she does decide to climb down the tree, and I think we might be in a very good spot here. That all being said, where she is now, shade, less flies, the day's only getting hotter, so I'm not quite sure why she would want to move, but that doesn't mean she won't move. She's now turned around and is grooming kind of her back leg there. Oh, no, just shifting positions. You can see she's really straining her neck to kind of groom her rib cage now. What are you going to do for us? No, she's turned around. She's kind of moving towards the direction where she was perched on that branch a little bit earlier when we were wondering whether or not the branch is going to break. Now listen, that's not a thick branch at all, hey? I know it's a bit of a tough view. We've got some things in the way, but the branch that she's standing on, oh wow, can't be more than 15 centimeters in diameter, maybe less, 10. I wonder if she's going to lie down there. Oh, so she's kind of looks like she's lying down there again now. I wonder if there's perhaps something back in the direction that she's looking, that she's trying to keep an eye on, trying to see if there's anything changing. So it's been such a privilege this morning just being able to sit with her and kind of watch a little bit of her morning routine unfold. We're really not in the best spot now to get a good view. And I think I'm going to give it another minute or so, and then if she hasn't shifted around again, I'll just move us slightly forward. She's kind of, the way she's moving her head from here looks like she's trying to get a view of something in the distance. I mentioned earlier that there might be impala or something down there that she's having a look at, but I'm not convinced at the moment. Could also just be that there's a little bit more of a breeze on the outside of the tree than there is on the inside. And for that reason, she's moving further out again. There is a slight little bit of wind blowing this morning, which is actually providing both of us with a little bit of respite from the heat as we get closer and closer to 8:30 with very few clouds in the sky. It's getting quite warm. Danny, animals and phobias. She's grooming again now. I mean, looking at this leopard and the way she's behaving, I'd say she definitely does not have a phobia of heights. And she will have phobias of other animals, I'm sure. Animals like lions, or even further forward, or is she reversing? No, she's going out. She jumps out the tree going in the opposite direction. I'm going to be very upset that we are now over here and not down there. No, she's not scared of heights, and I think probably not scared of falling out here either. The way she's behaving here would not suggest that. But if there were any lions, she would definitely move away from them. I'm hesitant to say she's scared of them, but lions are much bigger than leopards and much stronger, and they will move out of the way of lions to save themselves. Lions will attack leopards if they come into contact with them. And I don't know, Danny, if you've ever watched, this might seem a bit of a silly one, but watched any of the big cats either in the rain or trying to cross rivers or big streams and ponds. They do try their best to stay away from those type of areas. I think they've got a bit of a phobia for water, if you want to call it that, and most definitely for crocodiles. We had a very unfortunate event at Punda a little while ago with a crocodile and a cheetah, which goes to show exactly why they are nervous of being exposed to larger bodies of water. We are going to stay with her for now. It looks like she's settled on the outside there. We'll maybe move around a little bit and see if we can get a view from that side. And if anything changes, we'll come right back to you guys.
It's the month of March and Wild Earth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the Wild Earth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
Hello, I'm Marna, your Wild Earth Safari Guide from and beyond Gala. What I really like about connecting with Wild Earth viewers is that we get to speak to viewers instantly, and I get to show you this beautiful property. If you want to ask me a question, register on the Wild Earth website. Simply head over to the live safari page and you can submit your questions there. Join me or one of the other guides twice a day on Wild Earth.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is a call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oh.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
We've come down to have a little look at Gowrie Dam. And not much is happening, but we thought you might enjoy listening to the sounds of the bush. there. Darby has spotted a monitor lizard here. There we go. Oh. Hello, monitor lizard. Okay, as I sit and enjoy this wonderful breeze, we are going to send you down to Tswalu.
So BK and I feel like we've just hit the jackpot. We are in another dune street, and just look at this herd of eland. They just keep going and going and going. It is definitely the largest eland herd I've ever seen at Tswalu. They just keep going and going. And that's what we said in the rainy season. If you've got really, really good grass areas, they can gather into herds of close on 600. I don't think that there's that many here, but I think that there's probably a good 60, 80, maybe even more. Can't count them all, but that's as many as we can see. So that's pretty incredible. I think that's all of them that we can see. Oh, no, BK found another two. So they're milling about a little bit. They don't seem to have decided exactly what they want to do. There's sort of a much bigger group in the middle, and this is mixed. This will be bulls, females, calves. There's some smaller ones in the cluster there. We are truly, truly amazed. We're lucky to see this. It's just whether you choose the right dune street or not. It is amazing that they're not running away. I know that if we start the vehicle, they do tend to run, but and they're not that far from us. They're probably about 200 meters from us, so far enough that they're comfortable. The wind is not blowing in their favor to smell us, so that's probably why they're standing, because if they smelt us, they'd be long gone. But it is just so nice to see. You can miss them completely by just taking the next dune street over. Matthew is saying it's an Eland convention. Yeah, I don't know what they're convening about, but it is certainly the largest group for me that I've ever seen here. It is very much a seasonal dependence thing. If there's lots of good grazing, so therefore no competition, they'll happily gather in large groups together. But as soon as it starts getting to the drier times where there's a bit more competition, then it's beneficial that they break up into smaller groups and go to different areas to find grazing. They're all busy staring at us, waiting to see who's going to make the first move. But I do know that if we do start the car and drive, and that or just carry on down the road in the general direction, they are probably going to spook and run. Wind's swung a little bit. The wind's changed, so we might see a behavior change relatively soon. And there we go. Wind changed, they've smelt us, and they've decided to start moving, trotting off. No, very indecisive. Now they're changing direction. Some nice little calves there. It's a really successful group. So we're going to carry on moving. We're going to try and follow up on 1 or 2 more water holes. We're going to send you across to Pinde with the leopard.
We are still sitting with this female leopard up in the tree. We can again see kind of how precariously she's perched on the edge here. We've driven around to get a bit of a side profile of the tree, and she's kind of lounging lazily on this branch right out on the edge, almost like a chameleon. Chameleons at night tend to go sit on the ends of branches where it's a little bit safer from animals that might be trying to eat them from inside the tree. Definitely not the reason she's out on the edge here. But you might find it's still in the shade, it's slightly more breezy out there. Just an opportunity to stay a little bit cooler. Her kind of heart rate and breathing has gone down quite a lot. She is still, can still see her stomach rising and falling. Not quite resting heart rate, I would say, or resting breathing rate. But for the temperature that we're experiencing now, and considering she's eaten in the last little while, maybe the last day or 2, it's a pretty normal rate of breathing. So when the big cats have big meals, they tend to gouge themselves if they can, and then for the next day proceed to look very uncomfortable lying around. They roll around with their bellies up and breathe quite heavily for the most part. She does look very comfy up here though. As this breeze is just coming through now. You can see that whole branch that she's lying on is actually swaying in the wind. That's how thin it is. And I was trying to think about what I would use to measure how high she is off the ground. And if a door's 2 meters, then she's probably 5 or 6 meters up in the air, actually. She's very, very sleepy, though. We're not going anywhere. We're going to stay here for the next little bit. And for now, we'll send you across to Pridelands.
I've got to keep my voice down quite a bit because we've got a young elephant that's just coming around to drink. So if I do go very quiet, it's because he's quite close to us. There's quite a few elephants. You can see he's very, very young. I think he might have just spotted us. I'll tell you what happened in just a moment. We'll just let him. He's terrified. I'm sorry, boy. We didn't mean to scare you. You can see he's literally got his tail between his legs. So what happened was we were sitting on the dam wall yesterday afternoon, if you call it the sunset safari, basically where we had a rock monitor up on a fallen tree. And we heard some noise coming from behind us, some heavy breathing. We had a look, and quite a big elephant bull, not massive like Ezulwini, like the big tusker that we see, but fairly big. And we thought, perfect, he's going to come round, and obviously it's super hot, he's going to have a drink of water. He didn't. He snuck round through the little drainage, and we tried to get him, but We just weren't quick enough, and then he disappeared. And then all of a sudden, this young bull, very, very young bull, maybe 12 years old, if even that, very young, came out in the opposite direction because we were actually trying to find the other bull. So we were just, when he popped out and where we saw him, because as you know, elephants walk incredibly quietly down on the ground. They've got that big fatty tissue underneath the heel of their foot. And here where there's not a lot of vegetation around is walking kind of on the sand, virtually couldn't hear anything. We surprised him, so we stood dead in our tracks. But we knew as he was going to come around to the dam, he was probably going to see us. But unfortunately, if we started moving around, we would have given him a fright. So what we were hoping for was that he'd just get there, but he turned and looked back up towards us. Anyways, I'm sure that he will be back soon though. But I think it's a good opportunity for us to just hang around here this morning, as we'll just get into a better position and hopefully more elephants come down. But off we go across to look at a spotted cat.
So the wind has really picked up here. You can see she's now still on the edge, and that branch is moving around a lot. The leaves are all kind of flapping, and she's got her head up. You can imagine a wind blowing kind of this strength is really going to be carrying lots of different scents and smells and sounds onto her. So her ears are pricked up, nose is up, eyes are open, looking in that direction the wind's coming from. Slightly more active than she was a couple minutes ago before the wind picked up. But I do think this is just a little gust of wind that we're experiencing now. It'll be interesting to see when the wind dies off again, if she puts her head back down or if she gets up and moves. So where she's lying now will probably get exposed to the sun in about next hour or two. And I think once that happens, then she'll definitely move back into the shade maybe, or maybe even climb down and move off into another thicket or into another tree. And we do have lots of vultures circling overhead here as well. So I'm not sure. They don't seem to have seen anything. I think it's just now we're getting to that time of day. It's 8:30. The thermals normally start at around 8:25. Jokes. But the landscape is definitely getting warm enough now for the thermals to be forming and for all these large raptors to start getting on the wing. For now, we're gonna... Oh, there's a big yawn. How nice is it seeing that? Nice, sharp, pointy teeth she's got. We are gonna cross over to Andrew and Juma. And if she moves from where we are now, or where she is now, we'll come back and have a look.
Thanks, Deirdre. Now we're sitting here with all the horn bulls. Looks like they are all about trying to feed here on, looks like all the dropping of elephants on the ground. That inside within these elephant dung, it's quite a lot of a feast for the most birds, such as the small beetles. So looking at the red-billed hornbill, sometimes they can be mixed species, yellow and the red. And they're all, some of them enjoying dust bathing, so this is all how they get rid of the parasite on their body. dove flew off, and all of them, they all vanished, they all fly off. Is there time birds will get around all different species just for only feeding in the same source of food? So I'm going to carry on and search around here. In the meantime, I'll be sending you across to Tswalu.
So we really have hit another jackpot. A little bit further up the street we found about 30 or 40 gemsbok. So a nice big herd here as well. So the grazing is clearly good in this region. We counted those eland, there was well over 80 in that group, and there's probably well over 30 or so gemsbok or oryx in this particular group. So they're just literally on top of the ridge, just above the blackthorn thicket, but also just casually grazing and moving on. It's so beautiful to see so many together. And once again we have their attention, but this time the wind's once again in our favour, so which is why they stand there for long enough. They're still trying to figure out exactly what we are. Lots of flies about. You can see that they tails are moving quite vigorously, and they sort of shake their heads and their ears. It'll be the louse flies that are bothering them. So just a really, really nice sight. As they move off, we're going to send you across to Pridelands.
We managed to find the elephants again. We didn't have to walk too far. But what you can see that we've done is we've actually positioned ourselves quite nicely, that we have this tree that has fallen over. And when you are doing walks, you obviously need to make sure that you don't disturb the animals. Now, we didn't want to upset that little elephant earlier. It was just, he happened to pop out. So you can only see one elephant, but there are two of them. The bigger bull that I was telling you about, and the little elephant is just tucked away. So they don't know that we're here right now. We've got the wind in our favor. They're standing in the shade. Our silhouette completely broken by this tree. I think he's now having a scratch or a stretch. But instead of going for a drink and cooling themselves down with water, they've opted to just stand in the shade for a bit. And they're grabbing trunkfuls of grass every now and then. So my voice is not particularly loud, it's quite soft. Elephants, as we know, have got very good hearing. However, elephants are also used to hearing people's voices constantly, and normally they hear them from the vehicle, so I don't think our voice is necessarily going to bother them too much, especially because we are hidden away so well. It could be coming from anywhere. But I'm glad to see that they didn't go too far. They're only about 50 meters or so, even if that, from the dam. They could also just head down into the middle of the drainage line where there's lots and lots of water accumulating and splash themselves there. But even though while we're standing here, it's good to keep checking our surroundings, because we know on a hot day like today that this is going to be a hot spot for elephants, and we constantly see them using these big pathways that we like to walk on. I don't know, Gert, how far do you think we are from them? 30, 40 meters? 50. Gert is about 50. Okay, maybe then they're a bit further from the dam. Oh, no, about the same. You can see he's just looking around now. The older bull. But he's still feeding. I think they suspect that obviously the one saw us. The problem is now I'm going to have to sneeze. Now I have to hide my sneeze. So the technique to hide a sneeze is actually if you just push the tip of your nose up. Not particularly pleasant, but it definitely stops a sneeze, because that's the last thing that I want to do now. And for those of you that don't know, I can't do a small sneeze. You'll definitely know that we're here. But it's getting a bit tricky to view them now. I think we'll move on from this elephant and head around and see if we can't find anything else.
Wild Earth is launching a brand new bushwalk from Pridelands. With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an Ellie bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that? Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I'll tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being. Converging game path will invariably lead you to a water source, but treat all water as suspect. One of my favorite ways of purifying water is to filter out the particulates. And by just filtering it through your sock, you can clear out most of those. You can put water into a snail shell and you can boil it over a fire or using a chemical like chlorine or colloidal silver.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix and I am a guide here at Yuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
I don't have many updates for you all, I'm afraid. Stifling hot now. I think we are going to loop round, head to quarantine, sit in the shade and see what wonderful creatures we can see come passing by. The insects are just getting active, so it's very difficult to actually pinpoint the butterflies when they're still. I'm missing the hyena den activity greatly. But sadly, I think it's just too hot. By the time we get there, it's about 6:30, maybe slightly before. But I will keep trying this afternoon. The more time I can spend with the Juma clan, the better. What did you see there, Dobby?
A butterfly.
A butterfly. And there's no leopard updates this morning, I'm afraid, but in saying that, our radios are down. No one can communicate with each other. I can't reach Rexon or Andrew, but I don't believe there's been any leopard updates. So we're going for insects. This is a perfect time. Although all the predators and the bigger animals hide from the sun, the insects do not. They're ectothermic and solar powered, and therefore you're going to see them out and about during the day. As soon as the sun starts to set, that's when they'll hide. I haven't been to this open area in a very long time. It's very overgrown. Look at this dog. Loop around to a little bit of shade and see what we can find. Mary, you're asking why do leopards have a white tip on their tail? Mary, a lot of organisms will have that. Your water bucks have a circle, your impalas have a white tip, your lions, they have a black tip. And it's mostly for communication, really. It's a follow me sign, we call it. And if you look at the grass here, I don't know if it really looks that long to where all you're sitting, but I can assure you it's extremely long. So if you're a tiny little cub and you're trying to follow mom, you're really not going to be able to see mom unless there's a visual sort of beacon that you can follow, be it black or white, which of course stands out in the bush. Hello, Impala, we see you. So therefore you can really see it. So the cubs can follow, but even herd life, Impalas are the perfect example. When there's a threat, of course, they scatter, they split, they run, especially wild dogs. And therefore they can follow one another by seeing that visual beacon. Leopards also raise their tail when they really mean no harm. When they're just sort of walking, strolling along to the next water point. So they normally raise their tail to sort of say, this is a white flag, Impala, don't freak out. Don't start alarm calling. We're not coming to hunt you. But they probably would if they could. So it's mainly communication, and the primary reason is a follow me sign. A tiny little cub. Even when we watched Intima's cub the other night, really struggling to make its way through the long grass. And when I say it, I am leaning towards it slightly being a boy. I'm not sure yet, but it does look pinched, shall we say. Pinched at the tip would suggest it's a male, but I think we really do need some better visuals before we decide that. Okay, let's bump along and see what else we can find for you. Darby, you look for shade, I'll look for insects. into the shade, and we're going to let you guys bumble down to Tswalu.
We're on probably a relatively corrugated, shaky road at this stage, so BK has to hang on, the camera has to hang on, and we're just heading in pretty much a northeasterly direction across the dune streets, sort of in a diagonal direction. We are trying to get to one of the waterholes before close of show. We've got an update from there, so we're trying to get there, but that's always a challenge when you've got to cross the Kalahari and all the dunes. But since we've left our eland and our Gesbok, we haven't seen any other animals, so... The director's just told me in my ear, I have 37 minutes left of show, which means hurry up and get to where you need to go so that we can find it for live TV. We're on our way. It's going to be touch and go. Whoopsie. Well, let's try and drive straight first. That also helps. That's the thick sand. It just takes you in whatever direction the wheels are facing. So we've got to get up and over the next set of dunes. It's amazing how lush it is looking. Absolutely. Oh, that's the one we want to take. And that's our challenge, is that this is how the roads literally just disappear in the sand, with all the thick grass. I mean, we haven't had grass like this for years. So BK and I both pretty much between segments have to put some glasses on because all the grass seeds fly up and over the bonnet. So we've got to go up and over this dune, so BK needs to hold on tight. You've got to pick up a little bit of speed, but not too much. We don't want to get stuck in the sand. We also don't want to stall the engine on live TV. That's it hasn't happened yet, but one day is one day. Hopefully it's not 2 days. Oh, this isn't such a bad one. This one's relatively mild in comparison to... But the sand is quite thick, so we've got to speed it up a little. Let's see. And there we go. Oh, almost. We are going to make it. And voila. There we go. That's one dune quest. We've got to do at least another 2 before we get to our destination. But we're getting there. So each time we come over into one of these, you're at a nice high point. So we just scan in the streets to see what's out. So Trappin is asking the question, are there elephants in the Kalahari? So not this particular section of the Kalahari. So Tswalu doesn't have elephants. They historically occurred in these areas, but they were only moving through. And that was before any of the areas had fences, or it was just one big open system, and those elephants would have come all the way down from Namibia through the sort of desert regions and down into this green Kalahari, moved in this area for a short time frame and moved back. So never permanent residents in these areas. So yeah, for us, long term, it would always be nice to have elephants, but there is always the impact on the biodiversity in the areas to consider, particularly if they just used to pass through those areas and not be permanently in those areas. So we've got another dune street. I always tell BK to hold on because all he's sitting on is one little cushion on the back of an open vehicle. So tell him, hold on as we go up and over. So brace yourselves for another one. This is also a short one, short, sharp one, but the sand gets very thick once it starts getting quite hot. Yes, we're gonna make that one. Sorry, they're a little bit shaky, but yeah, driving up and over the dunes is part of our daily experiences here in Tswalu. Lisa is asking how many water sources does Tswalu have approximately. I'm just trying to think. There's probably a good 20 plus water holes. Originally, when this was lots of farmlands and they dropped all the fences and they incorporated the land, they had over 80 boreholes, so they had over 80 points of water, and they shut down right to about 18 boreholes, so they've capped the rest, closed them off, and allow the animals to spread out a little bit more. But there are more than 20 or so water holes. And there's also sort of evenly distributed across Tswalu. Now that's one I definitely know. There's a road choice here. There's one on the left which is way too steep for this vehicle, and then there's the easy way around. We're taking the easy way around for this dune. That one's a bit. Essential part in the Kalahari. Animals, most of them still do need to drink daily. Some of them will rely on tama melons and the bitter cucumbers, but it's essential that Tswalu provide animals with water all year round. We're going to send you across to Andrew while we continue on our mission. Our time is getting less to find what we're looking for.
Good luck, Deirdre. So we also doing the same here. So we've been on a bumble about looking around. There's not even a single tracks of a cat from last night. Check all boundaries and everything, but doesn't mean that they're not around. So it happens that they're around. So there's a reason every time I drive a found impalas, I want to spend at least a few times with them, just to see how they react. But it looks like they're in a shade and they're not actually look threatened at all, and they're all even doing their own business of a chewing cud. And they have also an oxpecker that came in. So these birds also, it works well with any of the antelope because they're lean ticks. In the meantime, if they spot any danger, they fly off the animal. So it makes those animals also, they wander around too much, not knowing who's coming. And since today it's going to be one of these hot days, as you can see, they're already in a shade. Anna-Marie, so you're saying you don't remember that you never seen the grass this tall. Yes, well, out here, grasses are quite tall. Way here, it's at least you can see at least a little bit of this body of the animal. Where some area where you can't even see the ears of an antelope because these grasses go over a meter 2 meter up. So you're very right. Some area the grasses go 600, maybe 700 milliliter, and of course that's the short grasses. Like wherever you see a cat, or you can still follow cats through those grasses, but the minute they reach very much tall grass, like over 1 meter, then all you see is just a movement of grasses. Then the sighting is going away. Annette, so you're saying it's a lovely sighting. Indeed. You know, always in antelope such as in impalas, they're all just gorgeous. And the way they look, in the way they do, in the way how they love one another, in the way they form group. Now looking at the high rim, a lot of females here, so it's a high rim. May happen maybe it's a single male that is in charge of this high rim. Aisha, so you're saying the impala looks very healthy. Indeed, they are. Well, it's plenty of grasses, waters everywhere. They don't actually have to visit a particular waterhole or very same waterhole every day. So they either drink in one of these ponds, paddle, those are still filled up with the water from the rain. And that, of course, they don't have to spend a lot of energy running around, look for food, because plants is green, grass is still available. And they're also a mixed feeder, which means they can take not only grasses, but they can browse. So that makes them fit. And now those in the shade, you see how they chew cud. So there are a 4-chambered stomach animal, most antelopes, but also sheep, goat, cows. Spending a lot of time in this shade because of only time they would move it's because when the sun hits to the top, and then of course they would definitely going to move, follow shade around, and they more likely will be staying around in this area because it's probably such an open for them to be able to see who would be disturbing them. That they have a sound which is not very hard. That's actually a warning. if there were any things they're not sure about. And they'll mainly do it together if they're all sure about what they have seen. And when they do that, they all stare at the position of where the danger it is. And some of them may, run, kind of like jump up around, coming back to the same area as they give a shout. But this is actually to warn the other animals, not only them there. So I'm gonna check a few roads around here. In the meantime, I will be sending you across to Lauren. Yes, we still got these impalas, and they haven't actually even done a single movement around there. I find impala so beautiful, and then a lovely antelope. So let me send you across to Lauren.
Good luck, Andrew. I'm also trying to see what else I can find. Unfortunately, the butterflies are not staying still. We did try. Got the hiccup stuff.
Yep.
I'm very much looking forward to answering your questions. Come on, FC. Since I don't seem to be doing a very good job at finding animals today. I do see another impala. We're very lucky to have impala. But other than that, it's terribly quiet. Okay, I do know the location of some wonderful insects, and I am driving around there right now. Right outside our camp is a hubbub for activity, especially insects, flower mantises. Hello, beautiful. Why are you setting up the termite mound like that? You can see our gorgeous mast in the background like that. Kyle, we do not get springbok in Djuma. Unfortunately. They're very, very, very common in Tswalu. You see them regularly down there, but sadly, we don't get them up in Djuma. You will commonly see impala, steenbok, duiker, nyala, kudu, and that's probably the antelopes that you will see out here. Wildebeest. We do see bushbuck, but they tend to just live in our camp rather than anywhere else. So you won't find springbok in the Lowveld, anywhere in the sort of northeast. They are normally found in the Northern Cape, on the western side of South Africa, and up into Namibia.
Got a bit of a lump.
Limping?
Just a bit.
Oh yes, I see that. I think it's the back leg. Very possibly just stood on something, although their hooves are very well protected. Antelopes actually have the most highly evolved foot structure of all. Humans, of course, have the most primitive, naturally. And this is the time of year, as I mentioned earlier, the females are going to start getting very fed up with the males. Dr. Octobong, not that I'm aware of. As long as the grass is alive, and it's the sort of particular grasses that the grazers want to eat. Not all grasses are palatable. I don't believe it can get too long for them. And of course, we really need the buffalo to come in some areas. They're going to mow down the grass just like a big lawnmower. And that will sort of clear some of the areas. Buffalo do a really great job at that. But I don't believe it can be too long for the grazers to eat. This is the longest I've ever seen it. It's the thickest I've ever seen it. It's the densest I've ever seen it. And it's wonderful. And it does leave sort of a lot of mystery surrounding how winter is going to be. We're very much going to transition into autumn soon. And I don't think winter is going to be that barren at all. Okay, you do see our sign for the camp. It does look like I'm going home, but I am just going to try and find some very special insects for you. So as I do that, we're going to send you guys across to Pinda.
On this tree branch here, Craig, our cameraman, has pulled off a stellar spot, and there's a fiery neck nightjar who's perched on this branch here, just in a little dip, and this fiery neck nightjar is so camouflage, just kind of perched in a tiny little cup of the branch of the tree, and if you're driving past quite quickly, really hard to notice. So these nightjars, as well as owls actually, rely quite heavily on their camouflage during the day for them not to get spotted by predators. So where this nightjar is sitting now, it's not particularly out of reach of anything, but it is so camouflaged that any predator walking past here, highly unlikely that it'll spot it. It just looks like a little addition to the branch. Even for human eyes, it's quite a tricky thing to pick out. I think just maybe the little glint on the bill and the slightly different reflection off the wings that the sunlight's giving compared to the tree is what gives it away. But really beautiful to see a fiery neck nightjar during the day, because for the most part you see them at night quite regularly. They will often come and hunt at night in the roads, so they come and sit in the road, and when you're driving around after dark you'll see lots of them. But to get to see them during the day and the daylight, sunlight hours is very special, and you can really see all the beautiful little details now. If you look at their beak quite carefully, there are a number of bristles around the beak, almost like a little toothbrush. Quite hard to see, maybe less like a toothbrush and more like what are those bottle brushes? That's what the word I'm looking for, those things that you clean bottles with. Little bottle brush bristles around the beak, and those are very sensitive. So this fiery neck nightjar specializes in hunting moths at night, and those bristles are sensitive to movement, as well as helping them guide the moths into their mouth, which is an amazing adaptation that they've developed. It's a quite distinctive little light stripe under the eye on the head, And every now and again, the eye just opens a little bit and then closes again. It doesn't open fully. Nightjars have got huge big eyes to help let in lots of light when they're active in the dark. Critter Freak, it's an incredible sighting. It's been quite a while since I've seen a furry-necked nightjar during the day. And I mean, now it's 9:15 in the morning. So this nightjar most likely would have roosted here this morning. And for the whole day, it'll kind of stay dead still in the same spot. Maybe a little bit later, if it does get really hot, it'll move into a slightly deeper part of the thicket. But quite correct, this is an amazing thing, and I'm so happy that we're able to share it with all of you on live from Punda. I think it's amazing how it blends. It really, the more you look at it, the more you kind of think like, wow, this is almost like an extreme form of camouflage. They are really, really hard to pick out from the rest of the tree. But an amazing, amazing thing to be able to see. Such a privilege to be able to get to see it now. Ravinda, yes, that's correct. They are active at night hunting and looking for food. You can see, actually, it's hard to see and hard for the camera to follow, but a little bit further out, there are probably 10, 15, 20 butterflies and little moths all active and flying around us here and around this nightjar. Moths being the main food that nightjars hunt, and this nightjar is very clearly not interested in hunting them now. So during the day, there are a lot of other bird predators that are out and about, and these nightjars are completely outcompeted during the day. So their specialty comes in at night, and that's when they'll get active and start moving around and foraging and hunting. During the day, time for sleep, and rest and relaxation, something like that. We're gonna send you back to Lauren and Juma for now, and we'll keep moving and see if we can find anything else in the last 10 minutes that we've got with you this morning.
Finally found what I've been looking for. One of my favorites on the Waltheria indica. Just down here, I can't actually see, I don't want to disturb it, is a flower crab spider. Now, how do I know this individual is here? I know because I rescued him from Davy. Davy came back from drive one day with a spider on him, and I knew immediately it was a flower crab spider, and they needed to be on a plant like this. So it's one of the most common plants that we find them on. Now, probably a little, there we go. He's going to hug me. Don't be fooled. This is an ambush predator, and that's the normal position. With the two forearms on both sides outstretched, and the two hind legs, not actually arms, are they, sort of clinging on to the plant. Now, they're trying to blend in. They're not trying to pretend they're a flower like the flower mantis. They're trying to blend in. So they normally sit under the flower with just the arms outstretched, and they're ready to go bam at any point. Now, don't be fooled. They are venomous. All spiders are venomous. But the flower crab spider's little sort of injectable fangs, if you like, can't pierce human skin, so they can't harm us, but instantly they will paralyze their prey. So be it a fly, a butterfly, I don't think they actually feed on ants, but anything that comes to drink nectar from these flowers will instantly become paralyzed from the venom. And whether the death is fast or slow, I'm not sure. But one of the most remarkable things about these spiders is that they can change color to their host plant. So they can't turn into purple and red, but they can sort of blend in yellows, whites, pinks, lilacs. So obviously the Waltheria, the flowers are yellow, and this is exactly why this individual is yellow. But if the flower was pink, then slowly but surely it would change colour to pink. It's not an instant change. It can take up to 8 hours, but they will change colour so that they blend in to their plant. I don't know if it's a he or a she, but it's beautiful. Don't think about ambushing me, mister. So I'm just going to release this and show you another remarkable animal. It's one of my favourite spiders. And you always look, if you just look at this plant, you will find them. Ah, what are you? Oh, another juvenile grasshopper. Okay, I'm going to show you an individual that's fast becoming my favourite, and it's on the same plant every single day. That's why we find it right outside our camp. And this individual, of course, is trying to look like a flower. Okay, let me get my bearings. Ah, there we go. They're that camouflage, I don't even see them. So this is mimicry, actually, not camouflage, not trying to blend in, trying to actually mimic the flower. Hello. This individual sees me every single day and must think, here she comes again. This is a flower mantis. Can you see it, Davi? Do you want me to point it out? Okay. I'm trying to not disturb the vegetation too much. So right here, you got her? Yeah. This is most likely the female, again on the Waltheria indica, and I just think they are absolutely the best things. So instead of blending into the flower and trying to hide underneath it to ambush, they are also ambush predators, but this time they're pretending to be the flower, and therefore the prey is going to come right up to them, and bam, before they know it, they're going to be in the jaws of the flower mantis. So I'm going to scratch around here, see if I can find any more exciting insects.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm here in Northern California.
This is an Anna's hummingbird. We love seeing him because he brings a little magic and energy to our cold, wintry backyard.
In the winter, they politely visit one at a time, but in the summer, they gorge themselves in groups to prepare for their long migration south. As the hummingbirds fly south, over 1 million of these Canadian geese travel the Pacific Flyway from the Arctic to spend the winter with us. They like wetlands and we're in a drought, but they seem pretty happy on the dry bank of Folsom Lake here. This has been a tough year everywhere. But one good thing was we found Wild Earth, who encouraged us to relieve our stress through nature. There's a saying that
a distraction is momentary, an escape helps you heal.
I got into wildlife filmmaking because of a passion for nature and a notion that I could make a difference. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun. A couple of times per week we receive some very heartfelt messages from viewers telling us about how Wild Earth has made a difference in their life, whether it's helped them through a difficult period or simply helped them to reconnect with nature. I think that's why we do what we do.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river, it's being washed away unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that! How beautiful, look at that! One crossing, two to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
talk about pull the cat out of the bag last few seconds of the show. They moved from where they were earlier, so we had to relocate them, so that proved a little bit challenging. But we have found them, the two boys. And as any animal would be doing at this point in time in the day, as the sun is already hot and baking, they are doing their classic sleeping in the shade. One of them had his head up earlier, the other one's just got a bush in the way. There we go, there we go. He's got his head up now. So the only thing we've seen around, what actually gave them away, was a nice big wildebeest bull staring in their direction. They just totally ignored him. But the only other thing that we've seen around here is a little springbuck. So best it be aware that they're around. They were at the dam earlier this morning, and then they've moved a little bit further from the dam to come lie in the shade here. Just so nice and relaxed. Thanks. Apparently everyone's very happy we found them. We did have to cut across what felt like half of Tswalu just to get here. Multiple different dunes just to get to the right place. But we are here, we made it, and at least we know where they are now. These particular two gentlemen walk a large portion of the reserve. They've got an incredibly large territory. They lately have been chasing all the ladies with all the cubs. So establish their dominance, and possibly if any of the females are ready for breeding, that's what they're looking for. But they have been the territorial males for quite some time. I was going to say he looks quite tired, and he just proved the point. So, aren't we just lucky? So, we pretty much come to the end of show. Ooh, as they lift their heads. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us. And we'll see you again this afternoon at 3:30 Central African time for our sunset safari.